What is up, Critics? In this video I'm going to be giving a guide for this week's normal time trial, RC Bandito time trial, and the premium race for this week. Now the regular time trial for this week is paying out double money, so that means it will pay out $200,000 instead of the normal $100,000. So that means doing all three for this week will give you a total of $400,000, which honestly is not too bad. Now remember, the time trials can only be completed once a week for the full payout. The premium race, however, can be completed in a limited amount of times with a 48-minute cooldown between each win. Also keep in mind that rocket-powered / flying vehicles cannot be used in time trials. So starting off with the time trial this week, which is Calafia Way, I highly recommend either the Hakachu Drag, Shotaro, or a Baddie 801 for this time trial. Now this one is mainly off-road, so a bike will be the easiest. Also, this time trial actually does give a good amount of extra time, so there's a lot of other vehicles you can use to complete it if you're quick enough. Now in terms of route, there's a couple shortcuts and routes to make it easier, and they're pretty straightforward. As always, I will be attempting to use either the casino podium vehicle or the prize ride of the current event week on these time trials if they're quick enough to complete them. So for this event week, we have the Vector as the prize ride and the Rebla GTS on the casino podium. Now the Rebla GTS and the Vector can pretty easily beat this time trial if you're doing everything perfectly. And to prove that, I actually did the time trial with both of those cars. So I did it first with the Vector and I barely beat the time trial, and then I did it with the Rebla after and I was able to beat it pretty easily. But anyways, here's the run with the Vector, which was very close because of the car I hit on the inside of one of the corners, and just in general, it's a lot more difficult with this car because it's not as fast as the Rebla on the road.
Bruh.
Moving on to this week's RC Bandito time trial, which is La Fuente, Blanca. As always, you need to own an RC Bandito in order to participate in these. So this RC time trial is pretty easy for the most part. However, there are a ton of bumpy, high-speed turns in this one which can be tricky, and some very tight areas as well where you need to be careful. Now in those bumpy, high-speed corners, make sure to let off the throttle and then get back on the throttle again once you're going straight. And for the lower speed tight corners, make sure to brake. And when you use those brakes, make sure to press them in about halfway, not all the way, or you might lose control of your Bandito. And lastly, we have this week's premium race, which is 8-figure bonus. Now this one is restricted to the Sports Classics class. I highly recommend either the Cheetah Classic, Turismo Classic, Retinue Mark II, or a Rapid GT Classic for this race. Now this one is pretty difficult if you've never done it before, with the high speed bumpy corners, and it takes a lot of throttle control and proper steering inputs to get it right and not lose control of your car. Now I highly recommend practicing the normal version of this race first so that you can get some practice. Now in terms of lap time, the Retinue Mark II is definitely the quickest around this track. However, I wanted to do it in the Cheetah Classic because it's still very competitive and I wanted to have some fun going back and forth with some of those Retinue Mark IIs. And that's it, guys. The normal time trial is pretty easy in general if you use a quick vehicle, and the RC time trial is pretty difficult because of the high speed corners, but again, letting off that throttle will make it a lot easier. And this week's premium race might take some practice if you've never done it before because of those high speed bumpy turns. Again, remember guys, you can earn over $400,000 between the three of this week, and setting yourself a goal to beat them is always a lot of fun in my personal opinion. Let me know which one you found most difficult and what vehicles you use down below in the comments. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.